Egg McMahon in the back. I've got my Ed McMahon in the background. Paul Mossbauer from Felice Insurance is heading up the IT. Hey, Grabango, nice to see you. Welcome to Kitchen TV, broadcasting live from Portola Valley, where we like to stir things up. My name is Chef Laura Steck, and today we are teaching you a class of quick cooking and eat more vegetables. This is kind of a combination class. It's a good first class for any company. And let us begin with a few housekeeping things. If anyone is cooking along in the back, let me know. Raise your hand in the chat box. You're more than welcome to answer questions or ask questions. I think everyone's on mute, and so you can write something in the chat box, and Paul can transfer the question to me. This is our only class scheduled, but if you are not cooking today, and it doesn't look like anyone is, I encourage you to use a video at the end. After the class, there'll be a video for you. And remember that if it's kind of daunting and you think, oh, I can't cook too much, that you can always cook one dish or all the dishes or just use the video afterwards. My classes are plant forward. That means that meat is not my enemy, but meat is not my muse. And really with a class of eat more vegetables, this is what we all need to learn to eat. So we're going to experience and explore the world of vegetables today. I may mention classes in class, and that's just to give reference that there's much more to learn. Should you be interested, questions are always good during class. Feel free. Good questions are, I can't eat this, or I'm allergic to that. What are the substitutes? And we appreciate feedback. You have my contact information on the handout. And so let's begin. So I just want to begin by asking you to think of your diet and think of 6 words that you would describe your diet. Just what's the first things that come to mind when you think of what my diet is? Ooh, someone says balance. Well, that's one word. So that's a good way to start off. No matter what you're thinking, protein, or no matter what you're saying, the thing that we really need to kind of catch is, did you say anything about plants in there? Was there anything about vegetables and fruits, nuts, seeds, grains? Because these are the things that we need to make sure that we're eating more of, certainly in this country. We've got this thing about carbos that they're all going to make kids gain weight, and we talk about that a lot more in the sugar class. Protein, we've got a keto class and we talk all about protein. But in the end, usually the average American eats way too many processed carbohydrates, which is the reason that, if that you may be having weight issues is because of processed foods and carbohydrates, not because of whole grains. People eat way too much protein in the United States, and most of us don't eat enough vegetables. In fact, there was a study in Mercury News that came out, and it gave the top reasons why people don't eat more vegetables. And the first one was you can't get them in fast food restaurants, and the second was you can't get them when you go out to eat. So what we're going to learn today is how to bring the secrets out in vegetables and how to do it quickly. Another reason why people don't eat a lot of vegetables is because we as eaters are spoiled by nitrogen. So nitrogen is found in meats and protein and animal foods. And nitrogen has its own complex flavor to it. Basically, meat comes with its own sauce. But vegetables have carbohydrates, and carbohydrates need to be enhanced. And that's what we're going to learn about today, the secret of vegetables. Another reason why people don't eat a lot of vegetables is because their knife isn't sharp. And so we're going to start this class off with just a primer of how to keep one's knife sharp. So when you use a knife, you have microfibers that lean over as you use it. And in order to keep a sharp knife sharp, you have to stand those fibers back up again. But if you sharpened your knife each time that happened, you could actually wear down your knife by taking off too much steel. So any type of chef's knife, 6 or 7, 8 inches or taller, needs to be paired with something that is called a honing rod or a steel. These two things go together. This is a great holiday gift, by the way. We're going to start talking about holiday gifts in class too, because people love the sweaters you gave them years ago, but now they want things they can use, and culinary gifts are a good thing. So you'll hear me talk about gifts. A honing rod or stick is a great gift. Because what this honing stick does is it straightens up those fibers, and you use it about once every half hour of cutting time. So you may only cut tonight 15 minutes, but if it's Thanksgiving, you may be cutting for 6 or 7 hours, right? So for every half hour approximately you use your knife, you want to steel it. And the way that you do it, I'll take the overhead shot, please, is we're going to take our knife at a 20-degree angle for the most part. Knives change, but if this is, let's say, if this is 90, right, this is 45, half that, 20. And then I'm going to take the knife down the side of the steel at that 20-degree angle. Okay, I can take the general shot, please, Paul. 10 times. And then on the other side, 10 times. And then 5 times on both sides, 2 times, and 10 times alternating sides. Now, it's not brain surgery. You can go 5 times, 8 times, whatever. The idea is that you're doing it on an ongoing basis and you can, of course, do it like this, and you can put it down like that if you choose, hopefully not over your cutting board. But if you do that, what happens is those fibers stand back up again, and you hone your knife. You make it sharper. And a lot of reasons why people don't want to cut vegetables is because they don't have a sharp knife. In fact, I cook in a lot of kitchens, and actually a lot of people don't have sharp knives. You're not alone. So make sure that you're honing your knife as well on an ongoing basis, and you will have better results. All right, we're going to kick off cooking with what I call a quickie round. And a quickie round is just some things that happen fast in the kitchen in relationship to vegetables. And of course, with a quick cooking class, that's a great thing to do. So the first thing is how to cut an onion. And let's look at that. I'll take the overhead shot. So first off, any kind of thing that you're using that have these little stickers on it, it's important to take them off and don't put them in the compost or in the green waste. Take them off and put them in the trash. They're actually getting in the way of the compost, these silly little stickers. And so until one of your youngsters, for their science project, figures out how to make a biocompostable sticker for produce, we're going to have to remove them from our foods. I'm going to take my onion, I'm going to cut off the bottom and the top of it, and then cut the onion straight down. Now you'll notice that onions have a little bit of a yellow thing in the back of it, and that is where the plant was connected. So that's important for us as we move to this next process. And what you want to do is just peel that skin off and take that yellow part and put it in the back. And then take your knife and start cutting through your onion horizontally. Now you don't want to cut all the way through, about 3/4 of the way through, leaving something in the back to keep the onion together. You can put as many slices as you want in the onion, but remember that the more you slice, the smaller the dice. Now I'm going to take my knife the opposite way, and I'm going to cut through the onion, not all the way through, about 3/4 of the way through, so that I have something to keep the onion together in back. Actually, I'm going to change out the cutting board. And what I'm left with is a checkerboard. Now all I need to do is determine the size of my dice and cut directly straight down. And when I get to the part where it was not cut, I'll flip that guy over, and I'll cut into some sticks or juliennes. And then I will go around cutting a dice out of the remainder, cutting out that little yellow knobby in the back. All right, why do you do that with an onion? Well, onions have acids that fly up into the air. And especially if your knife isn't sharp, what you do is find that they end up flying in the air and onto your eyes, and then you can't see and you can't cook. So you want to make sure that you have a system in cutting an onion and cut your onion as little as possible because that will have less acids flying into the air. Now, here's a quickie. A beet, we would say beets are the last thing that's quick in the kitchen, except actually, a beet can actually be a really quick thing to cook because all you need to do with a beet, depending on the size, this one's pretty big, so I am going to cut this one in half. Smaller, I don't have to, but either way, you can do it. If you can leave it whole, and if you leave it whole, then it will be just take longer to cook. And I'm going to get a piece of aluminum foil. And then I'm just going to pour a little bit of oil on that beet, rub it into the beet, sprinkle it with some salt, wrap it up, or beets, wrap them up in foil. Make sure that that's a tight close. You can certainly do this also with a baking dish if you have. And then just pop this baby in the oven. Now, usually beets, especially this size, it's going to take an hour at about 350, 375. But the thing is that how long did it take you to prepare it? So fast and easy. Beets are actually one of the fastest things you can deal with in the kitchen because of that. And then I want to do a quick little vegetable snack. We have Snack Attack, a class that we do for kids and for adults. And we teach vegetables as snack. And here's a great vegetable snack. Actually, this is one of the kid-approved snacks that when we used to go into schools, I would teach kids for free. And we would teach them snacks, and then they would say, they would send you cards and say, oh, thank you so much for coming. My favorite snack was blah, blah, blah. And the kale, they would say, my favorite snack is the kale. And it was like, oh my goodness. All right, so this is how we make a kale almond butter roll-up. And so I'm going to take some of the Tuscan kale, and I'm just going to cut that leaf, the vein out of it. You're more than welcome to use the vein when you cook. Just if you are going to use the vein, dice it small so that it's better mouthfeel. And then I can turn these kale leaves into little pieces that give me enough to have some access. And then I take some almond butter, peanut butter, tahini, if you have an issue with nuts, or even chickpea butter, which is something out there for people who have allergies to nuts and seeds, and put that in the center. And then I'm going to top it with a few craisins. I can take it to school or to work if I take a toothpick and just kind of put it together, or I can pop that in my mouth, and it's an absolutely excellent snack. A little bit of sweet vegetable and some protein and crunch. So a nice snack for your eating enjoyment. Kid approved. All right. All right, so we're going to do 3 recipes for you today, and we're going to start with looking at this easy seasoning handout, which is part of your handout. Now, this is the essence to quick cooking. So I cook professionally. When I come home, the last thing I want to do is cook. I feel sorry you don't want to cook when you get home from work. Well, think about somebody who cooks all day. I don't want to do it. So this system is something that I have basically created as I've gotten older because it is my easiest and fastest way to get dinner on the table for me. And if you look at this easy seasoning list, you'll see that there's about 25 different seasonings, what I call salt and pepper with a college education. And these things are things that go together easily, just like salt and pepper do. You'll notice that there are no quantities, and that's because nobody tells you how much salt and pepper to put on your food, do they? You figured it out for yourself. So it's the same thing with these kind of things where you might like a little bit more and somebody might like a little bit less. So the idea is you find out what works for you, but in the beginning, as you're getting used to this kind of list, think of everything as equal parts. And then as we go through it, you'll learn what works for you. So we're going to do 3 easy seasonings today, and then we're also going to do a quick cooking pasta recipe, and they'll all bring in the same kind of idea of salt and pepper with a college education. So the first easy seasoning we're going to do, and I'll take the overhead shot for the whole thing, Paul, is cumin seed, mustard seed, lime. Ooh, all this mustard seeds just fell out. Cumin seed, mustard seed, lime. So I'm just going to put some cumin seeds and mustard seeds. And for me, that just depends on how many vegetables I'm going to use with that. And I'll put a lime on the side just so that we'll be using that when we're sauteing. So that's my first easy seasoning: cumin seed, mustard seed, lime. Get rid of all these mustard seeds. All right, my second one is going to be a combination of ketchup, and you'll notice this ketchup has no sugar added, which I think is actually really great. Sriracha, which I didn't have in the kitchen today, but I do have another hot sauce. And then hoisin, which is a thickened soy sauce, which I also didn't have in the kitchen today. I was surprised. So I'm replacing that with something called ponzu, which is kind of the same as hoisin. It's just not as thick. And I'm going to basically put equal parts ketchup and hoisin. Here it's ponzu. And then I'm going to put a dash of heat, right? A dash of heat. Whoa, watch it now, because I like it hot, but not that hot, right? This is your second easy seasoning: cumin seed, ketchup, hoisin, or here ponzu, and sriracha. And then my third easy seasoning is going to be some apricot jam, which is really good savory for pork, and also we're going to use it for chicken today. I think we're using for chicken or tempeh. A little bit of soy sauce. And I'm going to use some Bragg's liquid aminos, which is soy sauce that has not been fermented. So I've got like 1 part of the apricot. I've got about a 1/4 part of the soy. I'm going to put about a 1/4 part of Dijon mustard into that. And then I'm going to turn that into a little bit more viscous by adding some stock to it. And again, I'm doing small amounts here today, but you would adjust this accordingly. So stock, I probably put in, if I put in 1 part of apricot, I put in a 1/2 part of stock. And once you basically get the mustard mixed in, the apricot preserve will melt upon entry. So those are my 3 seasonings that I can use on any vegetable. And that is what makes also this very quick to handle. Is anything in your refrigerator will go for these recipes. It's not just what you see on the recipes. It can be anything that you have in your refrigerator. So what did I have in my refrigerator today for the vegetables that we're going to use? I had some Brussels sprouts. And what I'm going to do is take these Brussels sprouts and I'm going to cut them small. I'm going to cut them small because they actually caramelize better when they are small, because there's more surface area. We'll address that later in class. But also what's interesting about a small cut vegetable is I find that I actually eat more vegetables when they're small. Case in point, when we used to go to the salad bars at Whole Foods, I would always take the Brussels sprouts and the cauliflower, not the Brussels sprouts. I would take the cauliflower and the broccoli, because I wanted to do the right thing and eat the right thing, but they're always bigger. And so I found myself getting to the end of the box and having having the big pieces of Brussels sprout, broccoli, and cauliflower still in the box. So now when I go to the salad bar, even though I haven't in a year and a half now, I'll break them up into smaller pieces, and guess what is at the bottom of the box when I get there? Nothing, because they're small. So think about small vegetables when you move forward. All right, how about a carrot? We're going to use carrot today. Carrots roll, and what happens is, ow, Oh, it hurts because they roll. So anytime you have something that rolls, like a carrot or a zucchini, you want to cut yourself a base. Now it doesn't move, right? So that makes it safer for me to cut my carrot into planks. I can stack my planks and then cut my carrot if I choose into julienne. So certainly I could saute it large if I wanted to, but again, large might have some hesitation. Small, we eat more. Small caramelizes more. And the last thing I'm going to use is some broccolini today that I also cut small. All right, so why don't you give me the non-overhead shot and give me the general shot, Paul, and I'm going to say the next part of class is that vegetables have secrets. Shh, vegetables have secrets. The secret is that they are sweet. And you see sweet, I say an onion, right? Was that onion, if I ate it raw, would it be sweet? No, no, no. But if I add heat to that onion, what happens? It becomes sweet. It caramelizes. The flavor heightens, and all that is science. Caramelization happens when a vegetable reaches 330 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. So are you smarter than a fifth grader? What temperature does water boil at? Most people don't remember. 212 Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius, but secrets, vegetables, caramelization, carbohydrates caramelize at 330 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. 212, 330. If you boil and steam all your vegetables, your temperature just won't get hot enough to bring out the secret. What's the secret? Vegetables are sweet. What temperature does it take? 330 or higher Fahrenheit. Where do I get that in the kitchen? Oven, broiler, grill, saute. Let's go to saute today. I'll take the stove shot, please, Paul. All right, so we're going to start off with a not nonstick skillet. Not nonstick is what we want because we want things to stick. That's what we're learning about in caramelization. If you just have a stick, a nonstick skillet, you can use that. But a great gift is a nonstick skillet, 10 to 12 inches of good quality. This is where you should spend some money, is on a good quality. These are all clad, and these particular skillets are like 30 years old. They last great. I'm going to take some olive oil. I can use extra virgin if I choose, as long as it is filtered, because extra virgin olive oil has a smoke point of 375 to 425 Fahrenheit, and the average saute in a pan is about 365 to 375. I'm going to add whatever vegetable it is. It happens to be carrots right now, and I'm going to take them and I'm going to mix them up with the oil in the bottom of the pan, and then I'm going to put down that pan, and it's good to have the handle face the other handle so that it doesn't burn. And then I'm going to have the guts to put down the spoon and walk away. Why? Because the place where the vegetable touches the pan is the place where the secrets come out. And if you are like most people, you will stand by your pan, and you will just stir. Watch people when they saute. They're just standing here stirring. They're just stirring. Stop stirring. Don't stir.
Hi, Laura, sorry to interrupt. We have a question here. I've often heard that olive oil should really be treated primarily as a finishing oil only. Do you disagree with that?
Well, I'll ask that man. I'm going to, let me answer that one. So, yeah, so you don't want to keep stirring. You want the caramelization to occur. You want the vegetable to touch the pan, and you only stir every once in a while if something is burning or you need to mix something. But definitely let the vegetable touch the pan. Seasoning lesson number 1, caramelize your vegetable. Seasoning lesson number 2. As your vegetable cooks, and not quite yet, let me see if I can put a few more carrots in the pan. As your vegetable cooks, you get a brown thing that sticks to the bottom of the pan. And there is a name for that brown that sticks to the bottom of the pan that's going to start coming up right now. We can start seeing it. Anyone know the name of the brown stuff that sticks to the bottom of the pan? It is called fond, F-O-N-D, fond. It is the dehydrated essence, the culinary gold. Do not be like most people and take the pan and then take your stuff out of the pan and then wash your pan and then all your flavor goes down the drain, right? We want to keep that brown stuff there. And we're not getting too much brown stuff here today, which is, maybe I'll put a little, you know, what always gives me good brown stuff quickly is broccoli. So let me throw in a little bit broccoli and see if we can get some brown stuff. So the important thing about that fond is that's flavor. That's the dehydrated essence of what you're cooking. And I want to pick that up and put it back in my food by the process of deglaze. Now, deglaze, a lot of us know we can deglaze with wine, we can deglaze with stock, but what's important is that you can deglaze with any liquid. So I was drinking kombucha. I can deglaze with kombucha. I can deglaze with olive juice. I can deglaze with apple juice. If I'm cooking for children, it doesn't matter what I deglaze with. What's important is how much I add, because if I, now we're going to burn in, but we got some fond, so let's pick that up. We got some toasty guys there, but we do have some fond. What's important with that fond is that I only add a little bit of moisture to it. I have to take the heat away from the camera so it doesn't shut the camera off. And then with my flat wooden spoon, I can pick that fond up and put it into my vegetables or whatever I'm cooking. And then if I have some fond over here, I'll just add a little bit over here. I don't want to add a ton, because if I add a ton of water or moisture, I will have to sit around and wait till that disappears so that my temperature moves from the boiling point of water back to the saute temperature. And for cumin seed, mustard seed, lime, now for my seasoning, I'm just going to add my cumin seed and mustard seed. I'm going to give them a little bit of a toast. And then get my lime and add my lime, which becomes a deglazing liquid as well. And then I can choose or not to add salt. And you know what's interesting? A lot of times when you get into this process of caramelize the vegetable, deglaze the pan, thanks, Paul, that you don't even need to add salt. So if you have any kind of an issue with salt, which we all are eating a little too much salt, then that is your ticket, is to, you may not even have to have any salt added. Now let me clean this pan. Okay. I'm gonna, in the background, I'm gonna just get another one going here. And this time I think we're going to add the olive oil. Okay, so here's time for the olive oil question. So olive oil, again, extra virgin olive oil has a smoke point of 375 to 425. When you have a filtered olive oil, that will reduce the temperature. If the average saute temperature is 365 to 375, you are in the range of using an extra virgin olive oil, filtered, not unfiltered, for your sauteing. The non-filtered olive oils are used as the finishing agent along with often flake salt. And that is both olive oils, both filtered and non-filtered, are great culinary gifts as well. All right, so I've got my Brussels sprouts in the back here. And now what I'm going to do with that is one of the recipes that you have, which is the sriracha glazed protein and vegetable. So it's the same kind of thing if you're putting together a dinner, what you want to do, again, what do you eat? How do you describe your diet? There are basically three things you want for dinner. One is vegetables. The second is carbohydrates, rice, whole grains, potatoes, pasta, polenta. And the third is protein. And if I can have a seasoning that brings those three together, I've got dinner. Now, this is quick cooking. This isn't Thanksgiving dinner, but this is kind of like I come home and I need to eat, and I need to eat more vegetables. So what do I do? I can saute those vegetables and then put them on top of, as I did, and put them on top of boxed macaroni and cheese, which is often sometimes what I do. Or if I have like little pieces of leftover meals and think like a little bit of chicken left over from something and a little bit of whole grain left over, then I can bring it together with an easy seasoning or with a sauce which is an easy seasoning. And we're going to just use that same idea, but we're going to use it we'll do the sriracha, ketchup, and hoisin. And now we're going to use it with some Brussels sprouts. All right, so we've got some good fun going. Brussels sprouts always give me good fun. Again, I have a flat wooden spoon. Why do I want a flat wooden spoon rather than a round wooden spoon? Why don't they like me? Because if you're flat, you have more surface area to pick up your fond, right? And that's what we're looking for. We want to pick that stuff up. And maybe this time, what would go good with ketchup, sriracha, and hoisin would be, well, maybe I'm going to deglaze with a little bit of kombucha. Why not? Now remember, just where it is. Get it away from the camera and pick that stuff up. And let the vegetables come to where they get to, a point where they're cooked through and they've got some brown. Brown is good. When you are cooking vegetables, you do not have to worry about hydrocyclic amines, which are the cancer-causing parts of that we fear from grilling, right? So you can allow that caramelization or that grilling to happen. And then I'm just going to add in whatever, I had some extra chicken from yesterday. I'll add that in. And if I have some extra grain, which is why we talked about more of this about the grains class, to have a pot of grain around. And here I've got a pilaf left over from yesterday that I just add in. I'm going to deglaze that pan again because now I've got some really nice fond. I'll do it away from the camera. And scrape that up. Where does that fond go? Into the food, right? Note how much I'm adding. Not a lot, right? Because again, you don't want to boil your vegetables. If I boil my vegetables, what happens to my temperature? It goes down to the boiling point of water, which is 212. And I want to keep my temperature at 330. And then I'm just going to add my sauce to it. Right? So this could be any vegetable, any protein, and any type of, pasta or grain or what. It doesn't matter. It's quick cooking. You get home and you say, I need to cook. What can I eat? And well, I can eat vegetables, I can eat protein, and I can eat whole grains. And or any carbohydrates, but whole grains is really what we want to learn more about how to use. And these ways are a perfect way to incorporate all of those. All right. So the last thing we're going to do is more of a structured recipe, but with the same ideas. It's called holiday pasta. And I've done this for many, many years. We're going to actually use.
Quickly, we have a question. Can you pick up the fond?
What's that?
Can you pick up the fond?
Pick up. Yeah, with that flat wooden spoon. And flat is good because you have more surface area to pick. So you actually do kind of scrape it up is what you do. And if you have a non-stick skillet, then those skillets, especially the ones that you pay a little bit more for, are meant to release. That is how they are built. The whole idea of a non-stick skillet is to have things stick. That's what you want. And then, because that's the technique, caramelize the vegetable, or caramelize with protein and fish. It's called the Maillard effect instead of caramelization. But with vegetables, it's caramelization. Caramelization brings out that sweet, and that happens when the vegetable touches the pan. And I can actually allow the vegetable to lose a layer of skin to the pan. That dehydrates and becomes culinary gold that I must pick up. I must do that because that's where the flavor lies. And that's the whole idea. It happens very fast too, and it's fun, sauteing, turn the heat, turn the windows up, open the windows, turn on the fan. I mean, I can't turn the fan on here because it would just play with class. But this does have it's an exciting thing, and you want to make sure that you've got some air going. But don't be afraid to use heat with vegetables. We're so afraid to use heat with vegetables. It's like we'll burn the hell out of our meats, but we don't do anything with heat and vegetables. Oh my goodness! And actually, vegetables are so enhanced by the process of caramelization. And again, you don't even need to add any of the easy seasonings. If you just caramelize your vegetables and deglaze your pan, and then you can add those vegetables to anything. I got a leftover burrito, just, that's what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. Just saute up some vegetables and put it on top. They'll taste fantastic. And you don't even necessarily need to have any of these additional seasonings. All right. Okay, so holiday pasta is a pasta I've been doing for a long time. I call it holiday because it's got some green and some red, and it's cute. And anyways, it's also a great catering thing, or when you have guests, because you can make everything beforehand and then just finish it up, which we'll do today. The first thing that I made beforehand is the pasta. I just happen to have I got some brown rice pasta here. Any kind of pasta, of course, is good. You don't even need any pasta if you're not eating pasta. You could also use whole grains. But remember, it's the things that we overeat that are making us, if we are, overweight, having issues with our weight issues. And so pasta, yes, I might overeat on pasta, so I might need to be careful of it. But I can also use pasta. I don't have to have the whole plate of pasta. I can mix it with other things like we're going to do today. And when you make your pasta beforehand, if you go to a restaurant, they don't make your pasta right there unless it's fresh pasta. Pasta is made beforehand, like the night before. So all we need to do is reheat it, which is what we'll do. And of course, making your pasta beforehand is a great thing because then you don't have to worry about the specifics of when it's al dente, when it's cooked to the point that you'd like. The protein I'm going to add is tempeh. Tempeh is a non-processed soy product. It looks like this. You can buy it from Trader Joe's. It is made, you can see the whole soybeans in it. It has a nutty flavor, but still needs some seasoning. And you can get it from Trader Joe's. It is a protein that is comparable to, it's got about, seitan has about 15, 16, 17 grams of protein per half cup. Chicken has 28. Tofu has like 25. So it's a little bit lower, but it's still a good protein. And we can learn more about it in the protein class, but I just basically marinate it and I put a little crust on it. That's our protein. And then now we're going to make a sauce. Okay, so I like to make this sauce in a jar because it's just fun to shake it. And if you've got these jars around, just good old any kind of bowl or anything can do, but it's fun to use it in a jar. And I'm going to make the recipe starts off with 3 tablespoons of chicken vegetable broth. You can use beef broth. I'm going to only make I think I'm going to make a half a recipe. Oh, no, I'm going to make all 3. Why not? So we're going to start off with 3 tablespoons of stock. You can make it yourself, or you can buy it. Again, it says vegetable on this recipe, but you can use chicken, you can use beef. Fish might be a little strange, but any kind of broth will be fine. I'm going to use some olive oil. And this is where the sauce doesn't really cook for that long. So you could use some of your better quality olive oil if you choose, or not. You will not be cooking this sauce for very long, so you can choose what kind of olive oil you like. It doesn't really matter what kind of olive oil I like. It matters what kind of olive oil you like. A good place to go to find out. I think that we're allowed to do tastes now at farmers markets. Is anybody at a farmers market who's selling olive oil? You can try different ones. Certainly Williams Sonoma used to do that. I don't know if that happens now. But what's important about taste is not what somebody else likes. Because interestingly enough, you and I live in completely different palatial worlds. My palate is totally different than yours. And that means that just because I like cilantro doesn't mean that you won't. And just because you like that wine doesn't mean that I will, because everybody is different. And I think that's really important to understand. If you taste something and you don't like it, well, for kids, I would say, okay, try it again next time, because often something new we just won't like, whether it's food or a person or who knows what, right? New, often humans don't like. But if we keep trying it, then we find that we get an adjusted taste to it. But because we live in different palatial worlds, you and I may not ever have the same tastes, and that's perfectly okay. So don't let your snooty brother at Thanksgiving tell you that this wine is one that you're supposed to like, and you say, I don't like it because my palate is different than yours, and he's going to be like, what? You were supposed to believe what I said. Not that I have a brother like that, of course. No, 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 not at all. All right. So I've got 3 tablespoons of broth. I've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to do some lime next, not 2 tablespoons of some lime. Now, what I want to show you is this squeezer. If you don't have one of these squeezers, this is another good holiday gift. I particularly like this one because it doesn't come green for limes and yellow for lemons. And, that's paint on metal, and it really often can chip off. And then you end up, who wants paint in their food? So I really encourage you to try to find a squeezer that does not have paint. I didn't have one of these squeezers for years. I've had it now for years, but I cooked for a long time and I just never had one of these. I had kind of more contraptions. And this is a fantastic holiday gift. If you know someone, everybody really needs to start thinking more of lemons and limes for acid and complexity, and all types of seasoning additions. Acid on the tongue wakes up our taste buds. So often when you're tasting something and if you say it needs something, the soup, it needs something, but I don't want to add more salt, think acid or pepper, cayenne pepper, even pepper. Peppers and acids wake up our taste buds, open them up to receive more flavor. So acid is a good thing for us to use, certainly in a world where we're learning to cut down on salt. 2 tablespoons. And then 2 tablespoons soy sauce. Now, I was just on a camp trip, and so I've got some soy sauce in a jar that I just want to use up that I brought camping. But I have to say about soy sauce, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons here. Soy sauce is like wine. You can get 2 buck chuck, or you can get Chateauneuf de Port Briand, right? The difference is how long it ages. And a lot of soy sauce, like Kikkoman, is aged just overnight with a chemical called hexane. And hexane will speeden the process of the fermentation, but it doesn't give for the complexity of flavor. So spend a little bit more money on your soy sauce and get better quality soy sauce. They're selling soy sauce now for 25 bucks a bottle. I did a soy sauce taste test. I didn't really think it was worth that much, but usually if I find a soy sauce for 6 to 7 to 8 bucks a bottle, it's worlds different than the $2 soy sauce. So soy sauce, we made it in the macrobiotics school. It took a year for the soy sauce to ferment instead of overnight. I'm going to add some chipotle pepper. What is a chipotle pepper? It is a roasted jalapeno. And what's the hottest part of the pepper? No, not the seeds, the vein. The hottest part of the pepper is that thing that's holding the seeds onto the pepper. That is a great Trivial Pursuit question. Everybody says it's the seeds. It's the vein. Don't believe me, though. I had a cooking class. I'm going to chop this chipotle pepper up. I had a cooking class with some kids, and I told them that the hottest part was the vein, and they didn't believe me. And I said, well, don't believe me. Taste it yourself. And I'll be gosh darn, they actually tasted the vein. I don't think I've ever really tried to taste. Maybe we were even doing habaneros. I don't even remember what it was, but they ended up using the sauce wasn't hot enough for them, so they ended up using the vein, which I thought was cute. Kids teach us so much. Yeah, so a roasted pepper is going to give you some umami, and we're not going to talk about really umami today, but that is the savory, unctuous quality that comes from glutamic acid, actually. And when we roast a pepper, and very important in the vegetable world, when we remove the main source of umami, which is meats, we want to have vegetables that have glutamic acid in them, and roasting a pepper can give that depth of flavor of what we call umami. And we talk about that in more in other classes, and we have to finish up. So happy to talk more about umami if we choose. All right, the next ingredient is sweetener of choice. You don't have to add it. I'm going to add 2 sweeteners for you today. I'm going to add a little bit of palm sugar, which is, sugar is a sugar is a sugar. And there's a whole story with sugars, but I'm going to add palm sugar isn't any really better than white sugar, right? Or honey or maple syrup. I mean, we can talk about that in different ways. But I'm going to add half of my tablespoon with palm sugar, and then I'm going to add half of my tablespoon or my sugar with this stuff called Swerve, which is a fruit alcohol or erythritol. And this is a carbo-free sugar that people are using in keto and different things. I just throw it in because it's an option for a lot of things, including just something like a sauce. It looks like brown sugar. It has a different flavor though. So if you do want to start experimenting with some of these healthier options of what we used to eat, like saccharin, right? These are naturally occurring fruit alcohols, these swerves and monk fruits. Try to use half and half. So if a recipe calls for a tablespoon, use half of a tablespoon of regular sugar and a half a tablespoon of the erythritol until you get used to the flavor. And once you get used to it, you will, you can then replace it completely. Cornstarch, arrowroot, thickeners. We talk about that in the sauce class. I'm going to add a tablespoon. Not all thickeners are created equal, but cornstarch is always a good fast and easy flavor. The downside about cornstarch is it can remove some of the flavors of it masks some of the flavors of your dish. And we got some cumin seed. If you've got the time, just toast up the cumin seed and grind it up. But today, because we're finishing class, I'm just going to use it straight out of the jar. And then we have some cilantro, and the cilantro, what's interesting about cilantro is the gringos out in the audience, you say, what has the most flavor? And most people will say it's the leaves. But actually, if you talk to any good Mexican farmer or Mexican chef, the thing that has the most flavor in cilantro is the stem. The stem. So don't throw away the stems. The stems on cilantro, for the most part, are not big enough you ever really have to worry about having them get stuck in your teeth. The stems of parsley you need to be more concerned about. And I've got about 1/3 of a cup that I'm going to add into that. And then I've got some chopped up garlic that I'm also going to add in. About 4 cloves is what that calls on. All right. I'll move this. And then I can just take this guy and shake it up. Shake it up. And it's just fun to shake it. Sometimes you just got to shake it. So there we go. All right, I'm going to turn on the stove. I'm going to spray a little bit of oil into it. This is a nonstick pan, and I will add in my pasta just to heat it up. And then I'm going to add in some greens as well. Again, you can add any vegetable, any protein as you choose. I'm going to add some tempeh in. I'm going to let that heat up. Now, when I have my sauce, I've got the cornstarch in it. And before I add it to the dish, the cornstarch will have sunk to the bottom. Why did it do that? Well, because it's heavier than most things. Actually, what happens to the cornstarch when I add it is it absorbs about 30% of its weight in water, and then it sinks to the bottom. So I have to make sure that anytime I have cornstarch, I'm gonna shake it up right before I add it, right? And then when heat touches the cornstarch, and again, this is more the sauce class, but we've got a few minutes here. When heat touches the cornstarch, then it absorbs 100% of its weight. And the interesting thing is, why does it thicken a sauce? Why does starch thicken a sauce? I think this is absolutely fascinating. Starch thickens a sauce, and I'm going to put just a little bit of stock in here so that I can heat up so that my kale will get a little bit of moisture. So this is just to help the kale break, get a little steam. The reason why cornstarch thickens a sauce is because those starch molecules, which absorb all that water, become like football players, linebackers, and they blow up so big that it prevents the moisture, the water, the liquid from moving beyond it. So it is simply, science is always so amazing. It's just that the cornstarch molecules get huge and they don't let anything pass it. And that's why your sauce thickens. All right, shake it up, add a little bit, add as much as you want. Again, if you don't want pasta, you can use grain. If you don't want any grain at all, you can just use vegetables and meat. You can do whatever you might choose, but you can have everything prepared beforehand and then just add this at the end. It looks Christmassy because the chipotle and the if you put green into it, it just looks like a fun pasta. And then it thickens up immediately. And then we will transfer it over to our plate. And then garnish it with whatever we choose. Maybe some additional cilantro, maybe some, goat cheese, I think is part of it. I didn't actually have any goat cheese and didn't think about buying any goat cheese. And then also some pumpkin seeds, or pepitas, right? Good for the season. I heard, so when I went to the Culinary Institute of America School of Natural Cookery and the Vega Macrobiotic Study Center, and I heard that pepitas are good for the male prostate. Believe it or not, I can't prove that. I don't have a prostate, but that's what I have heard. So, Grabango, we have for you a number of things. We have a beautiful holiday pasta here, very unique in flavor. We have our easy seasoned vegetables, which we started with, which was with the hoisin, ketchup, and sriracha. Then we have our this was cumin seed. No one caught me. Cumin seed, mustard seed, lime. This was the sriracha ketchup hoisin, and I use the ponzu sauce. And then we started off the class not only with this, we learned how to chop an onion, but we also made this cute little kale roll-up with some almond butter and craisin, which is a kid-approved snack for your eating enjoyment today. I'll just put that over here. So fantastic to have you here today in Kitchen TV. And I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. We did not use our apricot and Dijon and stock, but we could have very easily. So, oh, spooky, spooky. All right. Anyone have any questions for the chef? Stump the chef. Everybody stayed too, which is great. Nobody in the back, nobody in the front. What do we have? It's 5:30. So we really appreciate you coming. Remember that holiday gifts are really culinary gifts. There's so many different good culinary gifts you can get folks. Just a good bottle of olive oil, going back to that person, that unfiltered, really flavorful olive oil, different kinds of salts, so many different kinds of tools. Definitely the honing stick is a good holiday gift. And that squeezer is a good holiday gift. If you got it some extra cash, a not non-stick, high quality saute pan. I really encourage All-Clad just because I've had my All-Clad for over 30 years and they really work well. And anyways, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, I'm happy you can send me an email. You've got my contact information on the bottom of the form. And give us feedback. Let us know how it goes. Remember that the best foods for our health and the health of the planet happen to be the best foods for the planet and the healthiest foods for the animals too. That comes out of my book, From Cool Cuisine, Taking the Bite Out of Global Warming. So let's change the world with great tasting food, shall we? Together we can make a great meal and a great difference. Thanks for coming, Grabango. Bye-bye.